Hi guys, welcome back to Codemaster Coach, your medical coding tutor. In today's video, we are covering the basic steps to coding ICD-10-CM. Now, in previous videos, we learned how to review the medical record and determine the principal diagnoses and other diagnoses that would need to be coded from the medical record. So we're going to build from that training. Today we're going to learn the basic steps to coding, and there are two main steps: locate and verify. Locate and verify. So how do we locate main terms in the alphabetic index? Because remember, we start with the alphabetic index, which is the front of the book. It's considered volume 2, but it's at the front of the book. It's an alphabetic listing, and then we verify by checking that code out in the tabular list. So first you refer to your main term and your alphabetic index. So you have to know what a main term is. And remember, we said a main term is flush left with the left-hand margin. It's in bold type, and it begins with a capital letter. Now, if for some reason you can't find the main term word for word the way that you're looking it up, look for synonyms, eponyms, and alternative wordings that mean the same thing as your main term. And once you locate your main term, look for more specificity with your diagnoses. And the way that we do that is by looking at subterms. So we have our main term, but for greater specificity, we look for subterms. And we said subterms are where? They're indented to the right from the main term. They're in regular type. Remember, your main term is in bold print, starting with a capital letter. Well, your subterm is indented to the right, and it's in regular type, and it begins with lowercase letter. And again, if for any reason you cannot find a subterm that you're looking for, look for synonyms or eponyms or alternative wording that means the same meaning as your subterm that you're looking up. But also don't forget about your non-essential modifiers. And remember, we said non-essential modifiers are those words that are in parentheses beside the main term, because a lot of times you'll find them there. So if I were to give you some diagnoses for you to look up or try to determine the main term, would you be able to identify the main term? For example, number 1, if I gave you urinary tract infection due to E. coli, what's your main term in that diagnosis? Urinary tract infection due to E. coli. Urinary tract tells you where in the body, so that's not your main term that you look up in your alphabetic index. E. coli identifies the organisms that's causing the urinary tract infection, but what's wrong is infection. So infection is the main term in that diagnosis that you look up. Number 2. Recurrent ventral hernia. Recurrent. You've had it before, it's come back again. Recurrent ventral hernia. So in that diagnosis, what's the main term that you look up? Recurrent just tells you it's back again. What's back again? Ventral is describing where on the body something's wrong. So hernia is your main term. Hernia is what's wrong. Therefore, that's your main term that you'd look up. Because remember, in diagnoses, we're looking for what's wrong with the patient. And number 3, hypertrophy of the tonsils. You got it this time. Hypertrophy. It's enlargement. We're learning from medical terminology, hyper means enlarged. So hypertrophy of the tonsils. So hypertrophy would be the main term that you look up. So now we know how to locate a term in our alphabetic index. So how do we verify? Verify. Once you locate your code in your alphabetic index, you must verify or refer to your tabular list to verify the code that you have. So you cannot assign a code without first verifying your code. So in your alphabetic index, remember, when you look it up, a lot of times it does not give you the full code. So you're going to have to refer to your tabular list to get the full code. And remember, we said codes can be up to 7 digits long. So selection of a full code, including laterality, which means left or right, and any applicable 7th digit, can only be done in your tabular list. So you're going to have to refer to your tabular list anyway. And in a dash beside a code, when I'm looking at my alphabetic index and I'm looking up a code and it gives me a dash beside the code, just a dash, a little line, that lets me know that additional digits or characters are required to completely code or assign that code. And a placeholder X is the only exception that allows characters to be added. So for codes that are less than 6 digits, but you see a check 7th, which means assign the 7th digit to that code, then that lets you know you need to put X's in there to fill from this whatever digits less than 6 up to 6 digits so that you can assign that 7th digit. And I'll show you an example of that in just a minute. And remember, when it says check the 7th or add this 7th digit to this code, that digit can only be the 7th digit. So that's another key to let you know that if that code stopped at 4 digits and they're giving you the 7th, then you got to put 5 and 6 XX to allow the 7th digit. And it sounds funny now, why are we doing that? But if you worked with ICD-9 and you know we ran out of digits, then you'll be thankful for all those X's in ICD-10, because ICD-9 really did it. We didn't have room for growth with ICD-9. We had to go to ICD-10 because we've gotten more specific in our diagnosing. We're more specific. We can explain better. It's not just a UTI. It's a UTI due to E. coli, or it's cellulitis due to. And because we're able now to be more specific in our codes, we need to have the room to grow with the code, the basic code, to have more room to grow and say it's due to or because of. Where at ICD-9 we didn't have that. All right, so if I were to give you, going back to those same 3 examples we had, urinary tract infection due to E. coli, recurrent ventral hernia, and hypertrophy of the tonsils, would you be able to locate the code? So let's pull out the code book here. First example was urinary tract infection due to E. coli, and we said the main term we look up is infection. So let's go to infection. I'm going to try to take you along on this. And I had all these flags to make it speed up here. Let's see if we can find it. All right, let me take you with me. I've got a purple tab. We're under the main term, infection. And we're going down to, where the purple is, urinary tract. And see how it says urinary tract infection, urinary tract, and we know it's infection because the main term at the top of the page, we're under capital letter, starts with a capital letter in bold print. We're going down to the subterm urinary. It gives us N39.0. So if I go to N39.0, okay, autofocus, N39.0, urinary tract infection, site not specified, but I've got a red direction says use additional code B95 through B97 to identify the infectious agent. Well, we know that this UTI is due to what? E. coli. So in order to identify the E. coli, I need to go to an infection. And E. coli stands for, and here it is right here. That's what E. coli stands for, E. coli right there. But as the cause of disease classified elsewhere, B9620. So then I refer back here, going verifying in my tabular, of course, B9620 says unspecified E. coli as the cause of disease classified elsewhere. Exactly what I needed to say. So in order to appropriately code UTI due to E. coli, it will be N39.0 and B96.20. And the second one, recurrent ventral hernia, we said the main term you'd look up would be hernia. So let's go to hernia. Main term, bold print, flush left with left-hand margin, and it says hernia. And we go down to the subterm, ventral, but we said recurrent. So when you go down to recurrent, recurrent says see hernia, incisional. We all see that? I'm still under the main term hernia. Let me find at the top of the page. Hernia. Subterms are indented to the right. Describing what type of hernia, we said it's a ventral hernia, K43-9. We said it's recurrent, so subterm. Recurrent says see hernia incisional. So then that means go to the main term hernia, but subterm incisional. So now go back to hernia, come down in alphabetical order, and find incisional. Incisional, there is no recurrent under there, but because the index told me to go to incisional, incisional is K43.2. So when I go to the back to K43.2, there it is, incisional hernia without obstruction or gangrene, incisional hernia not otherwise specified. And because ventral hernia is an incisional hernia, then K43.2, hope I got this clear so you can see that right there. Incisional hernia without obstruction or gangrene. K43.2 would be our correct code. And the last one we said was hypertrophy of the tonsils. So we said hypertrophy would be the main term that you'd look up. So we go to hypertrophy. Main term hypertrophy. Tonsils. Subterm tonsils. There it is right there. Hypertrophy tonsils come all the way across. It gives me J35.1. You see that? Tonsils, J35.1. So we go to the back of the book and we go to J35.1. Hypertrophy, tonsils, right there, J35.1. And the example I gave where I was saying how if you go there and it's only 4 digits long, look for example code S0911 or 10111219. All of those have a check X 7th. So that's telling me with category S091, it should be 7 digits long. And at the top, I've got a pink box that says the appropriate 7th character is to be added to each code from category S09. Well, if S09.10 or 11 or 12 or 19 is only 5 digits long, and I need a 7th digit to add to it, then for any of these codes, I'd have to put S09.10, that's 5. I'd have to add an X, 6, and then add either A, D, or C. So I'd have to add an X as a placeholder to make these codes 7 digits long. So when a code is less than 6 digits, and I have a note that tells me I need 7 digits, I have 2 times it tells me there, and it tells me here. Check the 7th, add the 7th, check the 7th, all of that. This code should be 7 digits long. Then I know to put a placeholder X in there to make that code 7 digits long. Okay? So, understand that in coding, in summary, coding is a 2-step process. Locate and verify. Alright guys, so if additional exercises are wanted, or if you like a lesson plan with additional exercises to this video, email me at codemastercoach@gmail.com, and in the subject line, put volume 1. Hope it's on me. Put volume 1, and I will refer you back a link that you can download additional exercises and even the lesson plan to this video. All right, thanks guys.